Welcome to Sounds of Sud. I'm your host, Jasmine. This podcast is for all the music lovers and anyone that wants to learn more about working in the music industry. Bringing you interesting insights and wild stories from DJs to festival organisers, we talk to all of the people behind the scenes that make the magic happen. So make sure to hit subscribe and I'll see you on the dance floor. Welcome, Shiv, to Sounds of Sud, the podcast. How are you?
Good. Very long, actually, weekend. So just on the recovery.
Did you take Friday off?
I actually freelance, so I get to pick my own hours, which is like really, really lovely. So I did. I was like, I'm not going to do any work on Friday. It's going to be my rest time.
So we first got in touch through my friend Alex, who's also been on the podcast before. He reckoned you'd be a great person to talk to, which you definitely have been. So thanks for coming over, by the way. But you are the city manager for Resident Advisor?
Yes, I'm currently the Sydney city manager for RA, which has been very, very fun. I think fits me perfectly as a job role.
That's so cool. So what does that role actually look like? Because it sounds like an amazing role, just because obviously the company it's for. But what does your day-to-day look like?
So I take care of pretty much our Eora database. So that means from events listing, artist listings, promoter listings, any like reviews that are happening on the back of new releases that are happening in the community. I get to do the RA picks, which is amazing. And also get to pitch some feature articles and like cool little content ideas, which is really cool.
Really fun. Do you write yourself?
No, I wish I was talented enough to write. But I pretty much do all the pitching. So if I feel like something is really relevant to the current music landscape in Eora, I'll go to the content leads, kind of have a pitch ready, and then they'll go out and find someone that is that will write it. But we've kind of built out our content team in Melbourne, so we do have someone in Melbourne that is now able to get all these pieces out quite quickly.
Wow, that's so cool. And so it's just you in Sydney, isn't it? From my understanding?
Just me.
And is that the case all around Australia? Just one or two people in each state?
No, so Sydney, it's just me. But in Melbourne, they've kind of built out a really nice small team. We've got like a content person there. We've got a city manager there. We've got a promoters and services, like product services person, and then our Oceanic manager is also down there in Melbourne.
Oh, that's so cool. And would you ever move to Melbourne?
I love Sydney too much.
Yeah. It's funny, most people that have come on obviously have been from Sydney because I'm in Sydney. But yeah, I feel like you're Sydney or you're Melbourne.
I'm definitely a Sydney girly.
Yeah. Do you go down there a lot there? I'd imagine you'd have an interest in going down there.
Yeah, I had a friend that actually moved there, like bought a place like a year and a half ago. So was doing frequent trips there, and a bunch of friends have moved there. So it's a nice little excuse to go down. Obviously, go down for festivals, like Pitch happens down there, Sun Cycle, well, RIP, not anymore, Animals Dancing. So I'm around quite a lot. I think over the past like year, I've kind of cut back on going down as much, but have frequented Melbourne quite a lot.
Yeah, I love going to Melbourne, but I'm always happy to leave.
Yeah.
I'm always like, right, okay, I'm ready to go home now. And yeah, I always have a good time. Amazing nightlife, obviously.
Amazing nightlife.
Obviously. So does RA's role in Sydney and Melbourne similar, or have they got more to do in Melbourne?
They are similar. I think it is just easier being in Melbourne and being able to support, if you're riding out of that state, it just becomes a bit more easier to, I think, like facilitate and support that city a bit more. We have a lot of partnerships down in Melbourne as well, so yeah, they get supported a little bit more than Sydney does, which...
Yeah, do you ever have to like go anywhere for work, or is your role purely Sydney based?
I'm purely Sydney based, but the good thing is that when we do have partnerships, I can go to those festivals, or, I was in London last year for a month and I got to go to the office and like meet everyone in the office.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, which was like really lovely. I think especially working on your own and like holding up a city on your own, it's really nice to be like connected between the contributor network that RA has. So it's like really lovely to go see the broader team. But yeah, like I can travel and do my work that needs to be done. So it's very flexible, which is really cool. It also means that if I want to be a digital nomad, I have that option. It also means if I want to go on a music pilgrimage somewhere, you know, that option is there, which is
and it's
so
relevant.
Good. So relevant.
It's relevant. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm very jealous, by the way. Sounds like an awesome job. I obviously know Resident Advisor because it's just a hugely well-known name. They always have stages at festivals, but my housemate, my friend, like in the kitchen just before you came, was asking me like, what do they actually do? He'd actually never heard of it, and I was like, what do you mean? Of course you've heard of it, but he hadn't, and I was like, no. But then when I was trying to explain it, I was like, other than what I just said to you, I'm not actually sure of some of the things you said. So I know that you can go anywhere in the world, look online, Resident Advisor, they always know the right gigs that are happening, but like do you want to, I don't know where you could begin, but what would you say, is there like 3 main pillars of the business, 4 main pillars, you know?
I think at the crux of it all, RA is very like community heavy in the electronic dance space. So I think like from my experience, what I've seen in terms of what we do is like really facilitating collectives, artists, producers in the electronic music field, anyone that kind of falls into that genre of music, really facilitating that and pushing that. For me, it's really pushing for grassroots community events that happen out of Sydney. So amongst doing the listings, you know, we get to go to some really cool events and see, you know, kind of the production and kind of see the scale and see like the ethos of that collective, and then, you know, come back from it and be like, okay, cool, like I know for the next time that this is going to be an RA pick because the intention to party was safe, or it's things like that. It's like almost reviewing particular things as well.
That's so interesting. So would you say that some of your role is actually just like research?
Yeah, I would say some of my role is research. I have monthly meetings with my line manager who is in Berlin. He's amazing. And, you know, he'll always be like, so what's happening? Like, what's new? What's happening in Sydney? Like, give me a little snapshot. And so I think really our job is to have our finger on the pulse with everything electronic music based. I think more so it's really important that we're doing it in Australia because we're just a smaller music industry here. And I think we have so much talent. So being able to, I guess, facilitate that has been really special for me. I've been like partying for years. I was a bit of a club rat, and then kind of got promoted into being like DJ mommy, and now I'm doing this. So you kind of see all the different phases of like collectives that come in and out of Sydney. You see the more commercial side, you see the more underground side of things, and then being able to like write about that. So when, let's say there's a new collective that's in the scene and I get him, you know, I might put them as an RA pick, then they'll invite me to go. Then I know for next time that actually, yes, we're gonna push this a bit more. Or if it's, you know, a smaller underground artist that's doing a very intimate gig at, let's just say, the Phoenix Central Park Theatre, being able to be like, yeah, I think if you've got the chance to go anywhere this weekend, you should be here. So it's kind of also helping facilitate, I guess, people engage with electronic music in Sydney in a fun, fruitful way as well. We want everyone to come here to have a good time, and so to be able to be part of that in the slightest bit is, yeah, really, really cool.
I love how much you're smiling talking about it. It's like, yeah. I like my job too, but like it sounds like you really like it.
Yeah, I really love it.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's almost been 2 years. Yeah, I'll be with them 2 years this year, which I think is really crazy.
Always in the same position?
I did get a little baby promotion when I was in London, so I'm still doing my main role as like the city manager, but also, you know, kind of going into more partner, like a baby partnerships role, which is really cool. That means we get to make some really cool fruitful connections, relationships with like a lot of collectives in Sydney, and see how we can actually support them on a bigger scale that is, I guess, outside of me doing the RA picks. Or I
was thinking about what you said before when you said an intimate gig. I just remembered my friend Georgia, who got the random text to go to Fred again, and you were in her videos, and I remember, and I was like, damn, I knew you'd be there, but I was so jealous.
I'm everywhere.
How was it?
It was good. They reset up the club, put in extra light rigging. It was a full new production for Sevs. Also really great for Sevs because it's such an institution.
I've never been
in Sydney. It's so good. Their curation is really cool. I have some friends doing their residencies there at the moment, so I'm there quite often. But it was really cool to see, I guess, them doing such a small turnaround of the space, like, you know, the production, getting those like emails out or like texts out to people to be like, secret show, come get your tickets. It was fun. I had a friend on support for him as well.
Oh, wow.
So I was very lucky that that's how I was able to go.
It wasn't because
through
of
her.
It wasn't because of work.
No, it wasn't because of work. It was because my friend was playing and she was like, you know what, you should come with me. So yeah,
so good. Did you get to meet him?
yes,
Yeah.
got a little hug.
Oh,
Got to say a little hello.
yeah.
Joy Anonymous were amazing as well.
I wasn't familiar with who he was.
I have like heard their music here and there, but seeing them play live, it's always that thing when you see someone play live, you have like a great appreciation for them.
100%.
So like seeing them play live, they were very on the more like houseier, like groovier side of things, which was really nice because it really, the energy transitioned. But yeah, overall very fun night.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with them at all, but what you were just saying before about when you see them live, you get an appreciation. I went to this women in music like networking breakfast a while ago, and there was a girl or woman, should I say, called Gia Vaughan, and she's pretty sure she's from Sydney, and she has the most beautiful voice, but it's like not the kind of music I would listen to, because she sang a couple of songs live, so because I heard her do that, now I was listening to her album yesterday. It's funny, isn't it? You know how it all works. Yeah, so you've been non-stop. So with the events that you go to, what's actually your your preference of what you'll be doing?
Oh,
because you go to a big mix of stuff.
Yeah, I like dip into like different genres, you know, go to some things that are a bit more commercial. I kind of owe everything to the underground music scene here in Sydney. It's kind of how I really transitioned to getting into music and like making it like a career. I love my warehouse parties. I love my, you know, illegal park raves. Anything that is from your athleticas to your bypasses to your Lovejoys to your community chests. They're, you know, very like vibe positives. They're very community heavy. And I think that transcends into the environment when you're there. Like you can feel that energy shift, and they're just very safe spaces. And I think because I've been frequenting those spaces quite often, it just feels like a big family affair. You go there, you kind of know everyone. The curation from beginning to end is phenomenal. Production, even if it's a small party, there's so much thought that's put into it. You kind of just leave with a big smile on your face
every time.
Yeah.
Where would you say is a good warehouse party in Sydney?
Or it depends, I guess, what you'd be into in terms of, you know, genre of like electronic music, because there's obviously heaps of sub genres and subcultures as well that fall into that.
I'm really bad with all that kind of stuff.
So you know, I think Decay and Dunge are really cool.
But where are they? What suburb are these in? Like Marrickville way?
They're all in the inner west. Majority of them are in the west. Like obviously post COVID we had heaps of warehouses to go party out of, and obviously with COVID coming in and rent prices increasing, it just became really unsustainable for a lot of people. So we don't have that many
as much choice anymore.
Yeah. Which is sad, but I think hopefully like in the next couple of years it would pick up again. But yeah, majority of the warehouses that, you know, I've been to or were going to were in the inner west. So very close, walking distance, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people have talked about them. I've fortunately never been to one. I remember a few years ago people were telling me about one in Mascot, and they're like, you have to go, and I just never got, you know, it's like, you just didn't get there on time. Which is a shame, but yeah, I don't know. My favorite idea of like a party is like really unique like places. So, like in like a national park, or you know, just on your surroundings as
Yeah.
well, because it adds so much more to it. Like, I like going to clubs, don't get me wrong, but I'd have to be going to see a DJ that I want to see.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, you know, just
Wouldn't go out to a club for the sake of going to a club vibe.
I wouldn't just be like, let's go out on Saturday and
Yeah.
let's pick a club to go to. Even though there is so much great music, I think I'm just getting a little bit too old to be doing it
Yeah.
every weekend. So it's like we do it, you know, when there's DJs on that we want to see. But I love going to events where you see like smaller DJs as well,
Yeah.
and you get your new favourites. So with your work, I know that you were at Mode Festival, because I was there volunteering for Dance
Yeah.
Rise. Didn't know you were there, obviously there personally at the time, but Resident Advisor was there. What events do you have like your own stage at?
So we do pitch. We've been doing pitch for a while. Last year was the first time doing it with Mode, which was really cool. That stage, that outside stage, I had gone to Mode the first year and they didn't have that outside stage, so that was actually really nice. Going back to the thing about like, you know, being able to see your surrounds. You could see the water over the fans.
Yeah, that was a great stage.
Yeah, it was a really great stage. So at the you know, I think we also do Freedom Times. We were doing Sun Cycle, but Sun Cycle obviously isn't running anymore, which is sad. And my favorite is Strawberry Fields. So, yeah, it's really cool to be able to, I guess, have the opportunity, or have, you know, festivals that share the same ethos and ethics and morals in terms of like what we do, and be able to connect on like a greater level, and help with like ticketing, or help with, you know, curation, which is really cool. I'm not too much in the depth of all of that. I just know that it's something that we do, and to be able to see that come to life is pretty cool.
Do you have people from overseas fly in when you have big events on?
Yeah, so it's actually really nice when pitch happens. We get some of our, like, you know, our CEO comes. We get like our, some of like our UK team members come, which is really lovely, because other than that, like, we wouldn't get a chance to see them. So it's also an excuse for them to come meet the team and like kind of do a little bit of team bonding, which is like really lovely. So go to Melbourne for like maybe about like a week when pitch happens. I will go see my team, go rendezvous with the Grampians, which is fun.
Me and my friends always say that. We're like, right, we'll do this and then we'll rendezvous back here. That's hilarious. Strawberry Fields. I went last year for the first time.
Yeah.
Didn't know it's actually rated one of the best festivals in the world.
It is. I think I'm biased. I've gone to so many Strawberry Fields. It makes me, I leave there feeling full of joy and inspired with the music. I think it is one of the festivals that just gets it absolutely right with its curation. Strawberry Fields live stage is one of the best live stages, I think.
In the Mirage Motel?
The impromptu jazz that they do in the Mirage Motel after the festival is over is chef's kiss. It is one of the best things to experience. But they've got like a live stage where they have heaps of like the jazz bands play out of, lots of the hip hop acts that come play out there. So we saw like VVP. She's a big Western Sydney artist from Sydney. She played. Saw Close Counters play, which was amazing. Yeah, and I think it's cute. Strawberry's curation, I can never fault it.
So
It's
good.
always so good.
So good. And how similar, because Pitch is the only festival I've ever been back to twice. What's it like in comparison to like different years? Is it very similar and the music changes, or does the whole vibe change?
No, I think at its core, Strawbs has really remained what it's always been. I feel like obviously, you know, as I get older, there's a younger generation coming in and experiencing music and experiencing festivals, and maybe the way they engage with the environment is completely different from the way we do it. But for the most part, like, the crowd is pretty good. You are seeing, you know, more younger kids come through with
so young. I made friends with a girl there and she was 19.
Which is,
and I was chatting to her and she said, she was like, how old are you? And I said, I'm 30, and she couldn't believe it. And she goes, I hope I'm as cool as you when I'm 30. And I was like, that makes me sound so old.
Yeah, I was like, we're not old. It's just a social construct, guys.
Yeah, but she was cute. But in terms of the actual size of the festival, with the amount of people going, has it always been that has it got bigger? Because Pitch has got heaps bigger, hey?
Pitch has gotten heaps bigger. I remember going, my first pitch was like prior to COVID. They've got this like really cool stage in the middle, and it's like scaffolding. It used to be scaffolding, and now
they changed
they
it.
completely, yeah. So it used to be like a scaffolding cube.
Yeah, I was there last year. I loved it.
And then
I was so confused.
Yeah, and then last year they opened up the back. It used to be fully closed off. Then last year they opened up the backspace, and then this year it had completely changed. So I think like that goes to show that it has actually like grown in size. With Straubs, I feel like the stages have always kind of relatively been the same, but I think they were saying last year was the biggest turnout
that they've had.
Yeah, that
it hadn't been on since before COVID, had it? For last year?
It didn't happen during COVID, but the year before last, it was split over 2 weekends.
Ah.
So they did weekend A, weekend B, just to accommodate, you know, safety of patrons.
So they're like Coachella vibes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting.
The lineups were different. There was a tiny crossover, but the lineups were different.
Did you go for both?
No, I went for weekend B because it just happened to be that period of time. All the music festivals were rescheduled.
So you're a busy girl, I
So
imagine.
yeah, it was Pitch, Innovanica, Strawberry Fields, and the Bizarro Boys did a festival somewhere out in Goulburn. So that was all back-to-back weekends.
We had that last year, the one just gone. We had 6 weekends in a row of big events. It was Return to Rio was the first, Strawberry Fields, we had Boiler Room, we had Defected. I can't remember everything, but there was 6 weeks in a row, and it was tough going. But you really got in the mood.
Yeah.
I was super excited.
Yeah, it's just like once you're there, you're kind of like, cool. Like, I guess you're doing it. Like, you're locked in. Obviously, you take care of yourself. Make sure you're, like, eating well, sleeping well. But, yeah, that period of, like, doing every festival that was on at that period was...
It's a commitment.
Insane.
But it's so much fun. Because you kind of get, as I said, you get in the mood for it. Even though I was going to work in the week... It's just like the weeks were just flying by, and it was the weekend again. It was so fun. And then, so a bit more about you. So where did you grow up in Sydney?
I'm an area kid. I'm from Western Sydney. Have been surrounded by like so much culture out that way, which has been, I think, like really cool to see how that's kind of infiltrated the way I connect with community now. But yeah, I'm a Western Sydney girl, grew up there my entire life, and then moved, I guess, out to the inner west with a bunch of friends to be closer to work. And
what did you do before RA?
I was in media. So I was working media agency side, and then was publisher side. I worked at a music label for a little bit.
And how did you get your job with RA? Like, did you just see it and apply for it, or was it a networking kind of thing?
It was actually through a friend. I remember I was at Vivid a few years ago, was having a really beautiful conversation with a friend who's also a DJ, Tanya. They were actually looking at leaving their role. So they used to be the city manager before me. And we were just having a conversation about community and music and, you know, what it means to us and like our intentions when we party. And they were like, it's so funny, and we're like talking about this. Something popped into my head, and, you know, like, I think you'd be a perfect role for this job that I think would be perfect for you. And I had always wanted to work for RA. Like, it had always been in like a pipeline goal for me. And then we had that chat, and they followed it up, and I had an interview, and they're like, yeah, perfect, lock loaded, let's do it.
How crazy is that?
Yeah, and it's been a crazy experience and adventure. I feel like I've got my finger on the pulse even more now.
Of course. If you're doing something you love, look at how motivated you are.
Yeah.
And especially to like land on your lap like that, I feel like, I've said it before, like, I'm not religious at all, but I believe in the universe. Yeah. And, like, you know, everything's just going the way it's supposed to. That's so cool.
Manifested it.
Yeah, and it happened.
Yeah.
And it happened. And what's the most favourite part about your job?
Ooh. The most favourite part of my job is really supporting collectives out of Sydney. I think that is what I really enjoy doing. I enjoy spotlighting these communities and these collectives.
What's the difference between a collective and a community?
I think there's like a really fine line between what they are. The collective, I'm going to say, are the people that run, run the events. They're the people behind the production of these particular events I'm going to. The community are the people that are engaging with that space
and attending.
Yeah. So being able to, I guess, spotlight like particular parties, that I think need it, because grassroots events don't have money. These are collectives of people that don't have big money to work with, to get press, to get marketing, to have a marketing budget. It's like your big commercial events out of super clubs and things do. So being able to do my part and like really spotlight and talk about, what that collective is, what they're going to give you, what artists they've got on their lineup is really cool. And I love facilitating that. I think, grassroots events are also something that I very hold close to my heart, and to be able to share that on a very global scale is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'd love to come out with you sometime.
Yeah.
I feel like you'd go to so many places that I would enjoy, but I would never think to go to.
Yeah.
And how do you find? Obviously, you're right in the middle of the community, and you obviously know what you're doing. But how do you, as part of your research, what do you actually? Because obviously, it's quite ironic that you're doing research, but then Resident Advisor is a place where people would go on to find it. So I'm just curious how you're in it. How do you continuously find more?
Kind of have my fingers and toes in a lot of pies, which is really, really great.
In terms of lots of different friendships.
Lots of different, friendship circles, but that also means, with those different friendship circles, running different music scenes, and then having the exposure to that is really cool. I think it's just become an amalgamation of years of networking and going out a lot and kind of knowing particular faces. But, like I'm saying, like as I get older, they're like new collectives coming onto the scene. They're new parties coming onto the scene. And I think it's just like across that, it is mainly through social media, or people will reach out to me and they'll be like, hey, we're running this party, like, do you want to come check it out? And then...
But how do they know? Because you don't have anything about your job in your Instagram, do you?
I have it in my bio.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got like my RA email in my bio. That's across the board, just in case, like, someone's releasing music and I don't know they're releasing it, and they're like, cool, like, I'm going to send it to you and see if you can.
What kind of stuff do you get sent? All sorts.
I get EPs, I get albums, I get mixtapes.
What can you personally do with that?
I can pitch them into like a review cycle for music, which is cool. I get to, I get pitched mixes as well. So we have something called Mix of the Day, where, the city managers can pick a mix that they want to be spotlighted for a specific period of time. So I really love doing that, because I am on SoundCloud so often and I'm filtering through mixes all the time. Another cool way to spotlight Eora musicians as well. So,
and to those who don't know, Eora is the traditional name for Sydney.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, it's nice. I remember when I first saw that, I was so confused. Interplanetary Criminal, when he came for pitch last year, and I was like, where is that? I was so confused, but now I know. It's good. It's nice to be able to say it and obviously be respectful. What's been the most for you personally? I know you said the different parts of your job that you like, but what would you say has been the most rewarding actual incident? Like, is there a particular person that was like super thankful, or it got them their next gig or something? Do you know what I mean? Like,
what is really rewarding for me, I think it keeps coming down to the one thing, and it is like spotlighting people in the music community doing the work and being able to spotlight that. I really enjoy that. A lot of people will always reach out to me on the back of me doing the RA picks and be like, thank you so much. Like, that means a lot to be the RA pick of the week or be one of the RA picks of the week. And it almost feels like I'm giving recognition to people that honestly, they should have had that recognition like ages ago, you know. But it's nice to be able to do it on that scale, because I think it's also a reflection of RA as a brand, and people do think that people view it as a trusted brand. It kind of has its legacy. I mean, it did start off in Sydney, so
Resident Advisor?
yeah, it started off in
Sydney?
Australia. Yeah,
Did it?
Yeah.
Why is it so much bigger in London then?
They closed. They did like a move. I feel like it was growing much more in London.
Wow, I never knew that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so it's really nice to see them touching back into, it feels like a full circle moment. Like they're touching back into Australia now, and to see that support come from people that you're also supporting has been, yeah, really lovely.
Yeah, sounds cool.
It
sounds like a great job.
Yeah, it's like the little messages of thanks, which I'm like, you don't have to thank me, but it's so nice to be.
Yeah, because it does make a difference to people. Like, imagine like logging on and they see that they're on RA. Like some friends of ours, one of the Defected DJs was playing his song in her set, and it's like, how do they even find this music?
Yeah.
They must have so much, and it's like, but they've managed to find it. They played it in their set, and now they've had more recognition. Like, and it's really nice.
Yeah.
And it would be nice for that person who has the bigger name to help them, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really cool, really cool. And then, what do you have like long-term career aspirations within RA? Like, can your role actually evolve much more than it already is, or is that kind of what's up for grabs, so you're not too sure?
I'm not too sure. I obviously would love, ideally would love a full-time role with RA, just because I think their brand alignment with a lot of like things that I believe in, they they mesh really well together. And I think to be able to do what I'm doing on a grander scale would be amazing. I actually recently just got into artist management, so it's kind of, it could be, that could be like a career goal as well.
Not through RA?
Not through RA, that was purely, yeah, I have been a soundboard for a lot of my friends who are DJs, and that's kind of come into an actual role now, which is pretty crazy.
So you're managing one of your friends?
Yes, I'm managing one of my friends at the moment, and then helping another friend with her Europe and UK bookings, which is cool.
That's so cool. How do you start doing that?
That just came quite naturally. I have a nickname. My nickname is DJ Mommy. It's like, I go to all my friends' gigs and make sure that they've got everything that they need. Make sure they're cool, calm, collected. And that kind of just evolved into an actual artist management role.
Wow. But in terms of the liaising with people overseas, how do you know who to talk to? Again, is it just networking through?
Yeah, it's just networking. This is my first time doing it, so I'm just learning as much as I possibly can from this experience as well.
Will you go with them?
No. I would love to, but they're kind of going in like the June-July period, and I have to be there in September for a wedding. So I think we just miss everyone.
That's okay. That's okay. There's always next time.
Always next time.
There's always next time. We're going home this year. We're going to Defected in Croatia.
Nice.
Wanted to go to Ibiza, but we can't do both. So I'm like, it's okay. Can't do it all. We'll save some for next time.
Yeah.
Do you DJ?
I don't.
Ever?
No, I don't. I've like, a lot of people, this is my most frequently asked question is, do you DJ? I don't. I'm just around a bunch of DJs. And it's not something I've ever kind of thought about doing. I think there's a lot to think about when it comes to DJing for me, and a lot of that comes with like, what's my intention to DJ? Like, what can I actually offer that the plethora of my friends are not offering?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm like, I've got a lot to offer behind the scenes. I don't need to.
Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of really enjoy what I do in music. I'm like, I don't feel the need to DJ. Maybe it will happen. Maybe I'll be a house party DJ. Maybe I'll surprise everyone.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Hilarious. And do you have any like mentors in the music industry? Has there been anyone that's kind of guided you?
I don't have I guess a specific mentor, but I do have a friend who works at Astral that has been just like phenomenal help to me. and has kind of given me like pointers and tips, and always comes with like words of advice and support. He's been very lovely to, you know, be there and be like, if you have any questions, if you're feeling lost about anything, like come soundboard off me, which is really cool. And then I guess, you know, not that they're necessary mentors, but I would say like my circle of friends have been like Deepa is a huge reason as to why I got into music. I remember her like pushing me to apply to volunteer at FBI. So I got into radio presenting for a hot second, and then
Oh wow, that's so cool.
yeah, and then
How did you like that?
That was fun. I really, really enjoyed that. Covering the bridge occasionally when I got a chance was amazing because it was an hour of Eora music.
Why did you stop it?
I was freelancing. I had a full-time job. I was also doing radio, also trying to manage going out, and it was a lot to juggle. It was a really lovely stint. I had so much fun. FBI is just, if anyone ever wants to get into you know, community radio or like radio presenting. Their studio is in Redfern. They have like a volunteer program that you can apply for. Yeah, and that kind of was, yeah, Deepa was kind of like my gateway into getting into music. She had always spoken to me about it. She's like, you'd be good at it, you should do it.
She a DJ?
She is DJ.
Oh, what kind of music does she play?
She goes between percussive, drummy, house. She used to be in a duo called Honey Point. That was like jazz house disco.
Jazz house disco?
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
And she now is more in the realm of like really flirty and dark percussive music that dips into like techno, but she also does house.
A bit of everything.
She's a bit of everything. She's a bit of a wizard.
So I'm just thinking, what else? We've covered so much. But thank you, thank you again for coming over. By the way, super interesting. It's always like when you see people doing things that you want to be doing, it's always just like, okay, how did you? What do you actually do, and how did you get there? It's interesting to know the steps you take. Because you know, as I said, I'm a project manager. I love it, but I'm like, I would obviously rather be working with music. So it's interesting to know, and as suspected, really, just all about the networking. So obviously, RA have got quite a presence at festivals in Australia. I've been here so long now, I can't remember if they have presence in festivals in England, which they probably do. What's like the biggest festivals you know that RA kind of support at or have involvement with?
Well, the one that like I have got my eyes set on is Magnetic Fields, and that actually happens out of India.
Oh wow.
In like the middle of the desert in Rajasthan. I have a friend that's gone, and he has said it's amazing. So that's a big one. I know last year they had a partnership with, I think, Organic Festival in Taiwan. They're kind of global, so they've got their kind of toes dipped in a little bit of everything. Obviously Europe is a huge market for them, so they're quite involved over there.
Would you ever want to live in London?
I was actually thinking about it. I was thinking about it until I went there last year, and I was like, absolutely not. It's just, I think it's too expensive for me at the moment. But it's like something I would love to do, just because, I mean, when I was there, I fell in love with how accessible things were. You
can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want, and it's like, no wonder why people can choose to be a bit more selective over there, because it's quite a transient country. You've got artists going through London all the time. So it's like, oh, if you miss them this week, they're probably going to be back in another 3 weeks, so it's fine.
Yeah, or if you need to go somewhere in Europe,
you can just
it's only an hour's flight away.
Yeah.
Which is the really easy
Which is
part.
crazy. I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like no matter where I was in London, it had its own little like pocket of culture and art.
Where was your favourite place in London?
Ooh.
If you can remember.
I really liked Peckham.
Yeah?
Yeah. I like Shoreditch.
Yeah, Shoreditch?
Yeah.
Shoreditch is pretty cool. I had a great night in Shoreditch a few years ago when I went home for a visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
And it was fun because while I was there, it was on the back of like heaps of friends popping off their Euro tours.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, cool, like see Sydney friends play overseas, or see like Nam friends play overseas, which was crazy.
That would be really cool experience. Yeah. And have you got any festivals elsewhere in the world, like in America or anywhere else, that you'd really like to go to? Not necessarily with work, but just on your bucket list?
Oh, I really want to go to Parallel.
Where's that?
It's in Europe. Love International would be fun. I want to go to Sonar.
I haven't heard of them. Where's Sonar?
Sonar, I'm pretty sure it's in Spain.
Okay. Oh, is it the one in Barcelona?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure my friend went there last year. But
yeah.
I've said that twice now. I could be wrong.
I'd love to do Sonar. Love to do magnetic fields. I do want to do organic. I'm pretty sure it's in Taiwan. I just had a friend that played a festival in Japan.
Japan would be so cool.
Yeah, but I think that was the last year of that festival, which is sad. I kind of would also just like want to go to a place and just experience music there for like 2.5 weeks as well. Even
I
if
really
it's
want to
not
go to festivals. I'd love to go there and just see what the whole vibe is about. Yeah, there's so many places I want to go.
Yeah,
so many places. It's crazy.
Like I'm super into like my ballet, reggaeton, like genres of music as well. And so I was in Colombia for a month also last year before I went to London.
Oh wow, were you having a bit of time traveling?
I got made redundant from my job, blessing in disguise.
Oh.
I got made redundant from my full-time job. Which, yeah, huge blessing in disguise, because then I got to go on a 2-month holiday. And yeah, being able to experience music in Colombia was also like really amazing. I think
Did you feel safe there?
Yeah, I didn't have any unsafe situations in the clubs or anything like that. I guess that could also be because like they don't have a age cap on like who goes to the clubs. It's literally everyone. Like we saw grandmas.
So it's quite inclusive.
So grandmas up in there, so aunties up in there. Yeah, it's quite very inclusive, which is actually really nice to see, because I feel like, man, if we were 40 going out here, someone would definitely say something.
If you're 40. That's so funny, because some of my friends were almost 40 and some of my friends are in their 50s and they come out, which is just hilarious. I won't say names because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but like one of my friends, she came to Glitterbox with us last year. She was absolutely loving life. She was out later than some of my younger friends. It's absolutely hilarious. I love that when you see, but that's just a good thing about music though, right? Yeah. Like it's so, it has no limits. Like I think about the music we listen to, and when I'm on the bus, or maybe hopefully not the bus when I'm old, and I'm like, I listen to that. Of course, it's still going to give you the same feelings as you have now, especially if it's music from a festival, say, and it was your song of the festival. You'd be vibing to it in another 30 years' time, and it'd be, it'd be like, nostalgic. Yeah, very nostalgic. So, nostalgic is like my favourite thing. I love looking at old videos, pictures, all that kind of stuff. It makes me so happy. Especially when you can when you remember how happy you were, or the people in the video and stuff. Yeah. So cool. All right, sorry, back to it. So, would you, given that you've just started dipping your toes into a bit of artist management, what advice would you have for up and coming artists that are trying to get themselves, start taking their DJing a bit more seriously?
I think the key thing is understand your intention and your intent with what you're doing, because that really transcends into the space that you are playing in, and your brand, and how that ties in with your brand and kind of what you want to show people. I think having an identity when it comes to your music is also very, very important, and like really honing in on that. Obviously surround yourself with really good people as well who are supportive. The music industry can be very jarring, and it does make people jaded sometimes. But I think if you have the right people around you, it makes all the difference. And it doesn't have to be a professional. It doesn't have to be like an industry professional. It could be a very close friend. I mean, that's how I kind of got into artist management, was just being a big support and helping one of my artists now through a lot of small things that they were going through or just needed advice on. And yeah, I'm still learning the processes myself, and still, you know, creating roles and responsibilities for myself. So I'm kind of learning as I go.
That's the best way to do it, though, don't you think? I think, like, especially through this whole thing, I'm like, it actually turns out no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
No
one knows, and everyone is just figuring it out. It's like, you think, especially people that are older than you, that they've got their shit together, whereas actually no, they've just been winging it for a little bit longer. You know. So. Yeah, that's cool though. And so you're basically saying that focus on the foundations, get them right, and the rest will kind of come.
Yeah. Find your sound as well. I think like having like a really unique take on what you're doing is kind of makes you a little bit different from everyone else.
Yeah, it's funny. My last podcast, Adam Holt, the one I named it, My Sound is Evolving, because he kept saying that he was writing music, and by the time he'd finished it, he didn't even like it anymore, so he hasn't released it, and he's gone on to the next. He's like, no, that's not me, because he knows once you release it, you're going to be branded with that song's going to stay with you. Yeah. And he's not happy with it, so he's like, no, I'm not doing it, I'm making another one. Crazy, hey?
Yeah, like heaps of people like that get siloed. Like I have a friend, he was in Sydney, moved to Nam, and kind of like sound evolved, and they moved because they moved for multiple reasons, but they were being quite boxed into a specific sound here in Eora. Then went to Melbourne and just like spread their wings and start playing festivals, and like has this very iconic sound about themselves that, you know, you can spot a mile away that it's
funny, isn't it, when your whole future is dependent on whether like a certain person or group of people is willing to take a chance on you or not.
Yeah.
And it's like that chick over in New Zealand that ended up going to Perth with Fred again. Her name's Tessie, I think.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like a random chick, and they reached out on Instagram. He picked her, and now she's gone to Perth, and like her whole life is going to change. Yeah. And it's like, I think that's so fucking cool, honestly. I just like, it's incredible. And, you know, sometimes, but she could have been, for all we know, could have been getting rejected for years in New Zealand, and then you just wait for your chance.
Like, holding on to that motivation is really, really hard, because it is a very, like, I think a lot of people glamorize the music industry. It is a lot of work. It is a very tough environment to navigate, but
it's like the idea of it, right? Yeah. It sounds so fucking cool, and I'm sure it is cool, but 5 o'clock in the morning finishes when you're actually working. You know, it's not, you're not going and getting fucked up every weekend. No. Like, I'm sure there's obviously ample time to play, but, you know, it's hard going. And like, people is. Especially people that behind the scenes, the managers or the tour managers or the people working in the clubs. I know firsthand through friends that work there, like this late nights.
So, yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted. But if you're passionate, honestly, if it's something you're passionate about, you should just spearhead it and do it. Like, who's sitting there telling you, no, you shouldn't do that, you know?
Literally.
And there's no right way to do it either, as long as you're a good person.
Yeah, I feel like,
and I feel like you're a good person and your intentions are in the right place with what you're doing, then
you seem like a very genuine person, so I can understand how the resident advisor guys just snatch you up through a conversation. It makes perfect sense. But if you could go back to your, say, 20-year-old self and you wanted to work in, like, what would you tell yourself?
I would have told myself to do it. I was doubting myself for a lot of years when I was in my early 20s. I just thought I wasn't cut out for it, thought I wouldn't be good at it. Also, you know, the lack of representation. You don't have a lot of people who look like me working in music, and I think that's also...
Is that an issue?
I think it's... For me, yes, because I want to go into a space knowing that I can be seen, that my perspective's going to be heard. And it can be a bit jarring going to workspaces where it's, you know, not diverse. I think diversity means you have multiple perspectives on things, and I think that's really important. Different stories to be told, which is also really important. I think the music industry predominantly in Australia is, it's not that diverse, I feel like.
Wow. I'm so sorry that you've ever had to feel that way. That's shit.
Yeah, and so it's like, maybe I'm not cut out for it. And this actually happened. I got rejected from a job that I really, really wanted in my mid-20s, and I was almost like just going to quit applying for music jobs. And then yeah, I'm like, if it's meant to be, it will be. Like, I'm same as you. I believe in like whole fate and the universe working in very, very mysterious ways.
Very mysterious
ways.
And as long as you can stay, like, it's sometimes it's fucked up, super fucked up.
Yeah.
But overall, I think, like, whatever. And at the end of the day, you can't control it, right?
No.
So
Yeah.
maybe that's just my way of, I don't know.
Yeah, I would tell my younger self to like not to be too hard on herself and just apply.
Just go
apply for a role. Like, you don't know. Could be a lucky day. No one's gonna know.
Could be a lucky day. Could be a lucky day.
Yeah.
And all right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with me. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, cool. Well, hopefully, have we got any resident advisor stages coming up that you can share, or nothing on the cards to share?
Oh, nothing on the cards to share just yet. But watch the RA Sydney page because news is always flooding through there. So if something's going to happen, that is where you'll hear about it first.
Yeah, cool. And then can we open it up to if anyone has anything they want to send you to send?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, send it to me. Best way to contact my email is on my Instagram.
I'll link it.
Yeah. So if you have an event that's coming up, or if you're a new artist or a producer releasing music or anything, the electronic music side of things, shoot it my way.
Yeah, girl. I love it. Okay, well, thank you so much. On that note, we'll leave it there. But thank you so much for coming over. Thank you for your time, Angel. Love it.